You may already be aware of the importance of skin function, how it can affect the condition of skin. But how exactly? Skin hydration and the stratum corneum barrier have been active areas of dermatologic research for a good decade. Alongside these developments, consumers are beginning to find their interest piqued about the subject, largely because of the marketing campaigns by industry giants. Now, before you commit to any product or treatment that promises to repair the skin barrier, I'll teach you exactly how to navigate industry jargon so you don't get confused or still foxed by the deluge of claims, beginning with the basic science of skin. All this coming up in this week's episode. We begin with the skin and its function. The skin is made up of three layers: the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis, which is also known as the subcutis or the panniculus. The epidermis has 5 layers. Right at the surface, we have the stratum corneum, followed by the stratum granulosum, which is also known as the granular cell layer, the stratum spinosum, which is the spiny layer, and the stratum basale, which, as its name implies, is the basal cell layer right at the bottom. The sequence we've described is exactly from the outermost to the innermost layers. This outermost layer of skin primarily consists of keratinocytes, cells which produce a protein called keratin that is a key structural material in hair, skin, and nails. These cells mature over a 2-week life cycle, and it is during these 2 weeks that they are first differentiated from the epidermal stem cells in the basal cell layer, and are further differentiated as they move upwards towards the epidermis. It is right at the end of the 28-day cycle that they are shed off after reaching the stratum corneum. The dermis itself, the second layer of skin, has 2 distinct layers: the papillary dermis and the reticular dermis. It consists mainly of fibroblasts, collagen, and elastic fibers. The final layer of the skin, known as the hypodermis, is where the adipose tissue or the fatty tissue lies. Now, zooming in on the concept of skin function and barrier dysfunction, we first understand that the skin acts as a physical barrier between the internal and external environments to retain moisture and to protect the skin against mechanical, chemical, and microbial injury. Dysfunction of skin barrier itself may result in injury, dehydration, infection, and inflammation. The skin also has a key immunologic function, in the sense that the skin itself detects and responds to pathogens or germs. Dysfunction of this immunologic barrier may result in infection, allergy, inflammatory skin conditions, and in the worst case scenario, could even lead to skin cancers. Skin also plays a role in terms of temperature regulation. The skin maintains a constant body temperature by regulating heat loss in the form of sweat production, with insulating properties of fat and hair, and in particular with a dense superficial microvasculature system, which is the intricate network of blood vessels that supply the skin. The failure to maintain a constant body temperature that is ideal for the functioning of physiological processes in the skin is particularly disastrous. This is what happens when you go into hyper or hypothermia, and that is when key cellular processes shut down. Skin also protects from radiation. A dark pigment in the epidermis, known as melanin, protects the skin from harmful ultraviolet radiation. The disruption of the production of melanin increases the risk of skin cancer. When it comes to sensing, the skin constantly monitors the environment through sensory receptors and mechanoreceptors found in the skin. And dysfunction in the nerve sensation leads to symptoms such as itch, known as pruritus, dysesthesia, which is the medical term for an abnormal sensation, and insensitivity to injury or numbness, as in the case of diabetes and leprosy. When it comes to injury repair, skin has the ability to repair cutaneous wounds in 4 phases. First, coagulation, which is the clotting of blood. It then transits into the inflammatory stage, the proliferative migratory stage, which is when tissue begins to form, and also the final remodeling stage. The loss of this ability results in delayed wound healing, for instance, post-radiation treatment. Skin also affects quality of life significantly. Besides true medical conditions, deteriorations to the skin, such as that due to scars or physiological aging, can sometimes lead to elements of psychological distress that can also be a result of societal perceptions. Vitiligo, for instance, is a true medical condition, a dermatological condition in which skin loses pigment, melanin in particular. In vitiligo, the sufferer actually ends up having areas of patchy depigmentation, which can be quite distressing. Now, it is likely that any research you would have done about the skin would have returned with the term skin barrier, or in scientific terms, the stratum corneum barrier. You may also be aware already of how important the skin barrier is when it comes to how it affects skin function. But how exactly does the skin barrier work? I want to specify exactly what we mean by the stratum corneum barrier and its link to skin hydration. These have been active areas of study for many years, but it's probably only in the last decade or so that consumers are beginning to find their interest piqued about this construct of the skin barrier, largely due to the marketing campaigns that have been run by the industry on barrier repair actives. Now, before you commit to any product or treatment that promises to repair the skin barrier, hear what I have to say about what these specific terms and processes mean. The stratum corneum barrier itself prevents foreign material from entering the human body, but it does more than that. It also prevents water loss and serves as a shield against environmental factors. The barrier works to maintain the body's homeostasis, or what we consider the stable equilibrium. The loss of water from the body through evaporation from the surface of skin is common, and thus there is a need to keep our corneocytes, the cells at the surface of skin, the stratum corneum, hydrated. Now, corneocytes are found in the stratum corneum layer, that is the outermost layer of the epidermis, and these cells are formed through cornification, where the skin cells develop tough protective layers or structures that create a physical barrier for the skin. When deprived of water, dry skin, in a sense, may be more prone to crack open at signs of environmental stress. Now, the environment's humidity levels also affects the corneocytes. As the level of humidity tends to vary, corneocytes can also get their source of hydration from the body, the core itself, in order to maintain an equilibrium with the environment. And this is also the complex interplay of the environment and our physiological processes regulated by the interface that is the skin, which may explain phenomena such as the hydration levels of our skin changing. For example, in winter, where the skin battles harsh winds and also in this way depletes the skin's moisture layers. Skin hydration, on the other hand, is an equally important factor when we consider how one should maintain healthy skin. When we look at the stratum corneum's water content as we analyze skin hydration levels, we note that healthy skin actually contains more than 10% water. A mixture of water-soluble compounds called natural moisturizing factors have been found to affect water content levels, and this very arrangement of lipids or fats in the stratum corneum is also important as it serves as an effective barrier to the passage of water through the layer. A poor arrangement of these corneocytes, in a sense, such as that due to a leaky epidermis in genetic conditions such as atopic dermatitis or ichthyosis vulgaris, which is a genetic defect in the filaggrin gene, all that can lead to transepidermal water loss. Transepidermal water loss is essentially when water diffuses and evaporates from the skin surface. And even though this is a natural process, excess transepidermal water loss is undesirable as it can lead to many unwanted skin conditions. Now, when it comes to transepidermal water loss and how that links to moisturizers we apply on our skin, we must first understand the following. TEW, which is its acronym, has been one of the most commonly used methods in dermatology research to measure skin hydration as it directly correlates with skin barrier dysfunction. Healthy skin would score a low transepidermal water loss value, as it would also mean less water loss. In the same vein, most moisturizers are put to the test by using transepidermal water loss values. A good moisturizer should help to decrease transepidermal water loss. Moisturizers have remained as a staple in basic skincare, yet not many fully understand its function. Thus, some are unable to choose a suitable moisturizer for their skin needs. An effective moisturizer should first of all protect the skin by stimulating and augmenting its natural barrier function, while catering to the skin's requirement for moisture. Environmental assaults on the skin can also be shielded with a proper moisturizer in a sense, which can slow down skin aging. Now, what exactly happens if the water content of the stratum corneum falls below a desirable level? Normal desquamation, which is the exfoliation or the shedding of outermost skin cells, cannot take place. And insufficient hydration levels in that sense will cause skin cells to adhere to one another and thus accumulate on the surface layer. Visible changes in skin that's associated with this physiologic phenomena includes dryness, roughness, scaling, and flaking. Certain cosmetic ingredients have thus become a cult favorite in recent years by targeting stratum corneum water content, such as ceramide, glycerol, also known as glycerin, and hyaluronic acid. In part 2 of this workshop, I'll be taking you through exactly how these ingredients work.